How it is.
Woo! All right, here we go.
Came prepared.
Let's do it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the StreamGeeks podcast. Today we're taking a request from the audience on this one.
Absolutely. Color matching.
Welcome to the Post-Show Podcast with your hosts, Paul Richards, Tess Pretesto, and Michael Luttermoser. Let's talk shop.
Welcome, audiovisual integrators, broadcast engineers, and
Color technicians.
I was just going to say that.
You were?
Yes.
You cheater.
you can't say that.
Can't steal
Tess was
my
gonna
thoughts.
say that.
Well, you didn't. What if you stole my thoughts?
Actually, I do have secret powers, so. True.
Well, Tess was reading the audience thoughts, I believe, when she decided, hey, let's color match some cameras today on the show. The user groups online are just so great for that. It's just like, all right, we're getting a lot of people trying to color match.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do a show on it. And we're remembering and getting a lot of great ideas from the audience. But
Always.
let's take a step back. So what is color matching and why is it so important? Why is everyone always doing this?
Well, you got to have a good image.
Why is that like all you do all day, Mike?
It's because the great
He
experiment.
edits videos all day.
Yeah, the great
That's
lab.
true.
We're always changing stuff up. So we're always adding new lights. Something is always being added. So you always have to recolor correct
Yeah.
your cameras.
So color matching is the process of matching up, multiple cameras together. And
Yeah.
what happens is that, one camera over here and then one camera from a separate angle might require a different iris opening, might require a different shutter speed. It might be getting a completely different lighting of the same subject because maybe you've got, daylight coming in from one angle and, regular fluorescent lighting coming from another angle.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult to wrap your head around how different two of the exact same cameras can look just from different angles.
Yeah.
So in a perfect world, there's a couple things you can think about. One is if you can use the exact same camera models and the exact same lenses, and if you really could pull this off, put them in a very close place. Like if that's okay with you, like put them like right next to each other, which is
Yeah.
what we did. And so I have to say in our demonstration today, we had two of the exact same cameras, same models right next to each other, zoomed on the same thing. So we were able to get two cameras to really look very close.
Yes.
That's not always the case when it comes to going out and what's up, Tess?
Why? Why do you guys think
Oh, I thought you looked
something else
concerned
about
or something.
that? I was thinking, I was like, wow, Paul looks really dark. And I think it's because I turned that light down because I was
I think it looks fine.
on
Tess.
fire before.
We
Okay.
have
All right.
been color matching our cameras here in our studio
shut this
forever,
Yeah. Shut that
and
door
it has to do with did we change the lights? Did we do this? Did we do that? I think it looks we've really looking good right now with our color matching.
Okay.
But in most scenarios, you
And this
can't
one's too
put
much.
both cameras right next to each other.
Yes.
Right? It's really difficult to do that. A lot of times you want to get that separate angle or something else.
Oh, yeah.
And what we're talking about here is that someone's live streaming and they do have 5 cameras and camera 1, 2, and 3 all look very similar, and then 4 and 5, when they do that transition shot, it's just like, whoa, that green is a little bit more yellow.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
what am I looking at here? So in today's podcast, we're going to tell you guys how to do more live streaming with color matching.
And how are we going to do this verbally without showing images?
It's gonna
Might
be
be a
tough.
challenging one.
Yeah. I think we won't go super technical. We'll just, talk about the need.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. So
Step 1.
This isn't supposed to transition in the output.
okay, well, you can redesign
We're always
the-
streaming, guys, for the audio listeners. So we're talking a little bit about production stuff that's going on, if you're wondering what that was about.
So, so the first thing to do, obviously, when you get your camera set up and out of the box, is to set up the exposure.
Yes.
So camera exposure has to do with an iris, it has to do with the shutter speed, it has to do with making sure that your camera looks great. And one of the things that I had to learn recently is that not only do you want to set up an exposure that has good grays and good blacks and good whites, But you actually, if you're planning to use post-production tools or color correction tools, you actually want the image of the camera to look like a little, what's called in the industry, flat. So you actually want the image to be even just, it looks to me like a little grayish, as opposed to having like really crisp blacks.
Think of it as a blank canvas.
Yeah.
You want to start with nothing. You have something. It's like this gray image, but it's like blank.
And the technical reason for this, because it does seem a little counterintuitive when you're setting up your exposure, is that you actually want to have as much data coming through the sensor as possible. And if you are bumping up your contrast too much or your shutter speed is too fast, you're not letting enough data hit the sensor. So the faster your shutter speed is, the less light that's able to come in. Right? You slow that down, and now there's more time in between every time the shutter goes up and down. The further your iris is open, the more light that's getting in. And those are the two things that we play with to try to get exposure perfect. And so it seems counterintuitive, but you get exposure. Maybe what I like to do is get the exposure perfect and then dial down like one setting to just make it a little grayer than you might think you want. And that's because you're letting a ton of data come back into your color correction tools. And that is where you can start using color correction tools to really do what you can't do in a camera.
Sometimes color correcting is, you don't like, less is more. You don't like really need a lot. So sometimes like don't overdo it. Sometimes you'll be like, I need so much, but really it's just the tiniest little like amount. Yeah. That can like make something happen. So just think about that. Just gotta stay like mindful when you color correct.
Today we were talking about color matching PTZ Optics cameras specifically. A really good tip for when you're thinking about purchasing your PTZ Optics cameras. Consider purchasing cameras of the same zoom that have the same amount of optical zoom, 220x's, 212x's, because they will have the exact same lens, which in turn should make it much easier to color match them. A 12x and a 20x do have slightly different lenses, so you will naturally see color differences with those cameras.
To me, that's like rule number one right there. Like, buy two of the same cameras.
Yeah, everybody says that.
If that makes sense for your system.
If you want to take it to the maximum, and Mike, I am adjusting the audio delay to see if I can get this working. Thanks on Facebook, Mike. If you want to take this to the maximum, a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but the really high-end people who are shooting, like, let's say 5 red cameras on like a Hollywood shoot, they will literally request 5 cameras with serial numbers that are sequential. Like they
Insane.
won't, like they'll buy all 5 cameras and get them right off, legitimately right off the production facility, all 5 of them the same. So it could actually make sense to purchase, like if you're going to buy 5 PTZ Optics cameras, all of the same, just get them all at the same time.
I don't know if we can fulfill that request. So
all 30x cameras.
Yeah, all 30x NDIs.
Because when you think about it, when you're shooting on a red camera, if you are shooting 8 cameras, if you're Hollywood, you have a high-end production, you have a production budget, and all costs money. And think about editing all 4 different or all 8 different cameras.
Yeah, the color
afterwards,
matching.
If they're not,
you'd be going insane.
Matched.
Yeah. So time is money, and you save a lot of time.
Yes. And so you start there, right? So we've got hopefully now it is true that some people have a Canon camcorder, a GoPro, a PTZ Optics Z Cam, and a PTZ Optics, 20x, let's say. And there's 4 different cameras that they have to color match all together. And we'll get to that too.
We have to do that someday.
It is possible. In fact, somebody wanted us to do like a Frankenstein show with like 5 different types of cameras.
Wow, that'd be insane.
And I'd like to do that one day. But the first thing that Michael likes to do, so we've got the perfect exposure. Yeah. All the cameras are coming in. We bring them into our color correction software. We were using vMix. And you want to do like a basic, what is it called? Autocorrect, right?
Yeah, just click it.
Click it, see what it does.
See what happens.
If it makes it might make it look better. It might not make it look better. But generally, I think that it doesn't do a whole lot with the color, but it really helps with the exposure.
Yeah.
And there's 2 tools that you can look at to use when you're doing this kind of thing. One is a Vectorscope, and one is called a Waveform Monitor.
I was yawning while I said that. I apologize.
vMix, I have to say, has done an amazing job by bringing in, what do they have? A Vectorscope and a Waveform Monitor in a software.
Something else too.
Color correction wheels.
Yeah. Amazing job. Amazing.
Just amazing, because
blown away.
What they were saying at NAB when they brought this feature out, they were like, try to find a Vectorscope that doesn't cost $60 or $100 or $400, let alone have it built into a software that only costs $60.
If anybody is an Adobe user, you all know the pain and love of color correcting using Adobe products.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it is. It's so hard.
So the Waveform Monitor looks like a graph with a bunch of waves on it, if you will. And that you can look at and you can be like, all right, am I crushing my blacks? So you look at that before you even do a basic autocorrect. Before you do anything, you just look at it. And you go, all right, is my exposure good? That's basically what it tells you. Is my exposure good? Am I cutting off my blacks? Do I have good whites? And that's why you want to bring in a flat image.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to make sure you're not crushing anything before it even gets to the software. Right?
Yeah. I almost wish that we had our own personal video, or not personal video, like vMix had a good video on how to read a
Waveform
Monitor.
Yeah. How do you read that?
Because I don't quite understand it either.
It looks like a science experiment.
To me, it's like, what am I doing? Holding a card up. It's still judging by what my eye sees as like the best look.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, so what you do, so with the Waveform Monitor, you just look and you basically don't want the waveforms going up or down off the graph. You want them all in the graph. So if you see them peaking, if you see them peaking off the graph, we're crushing our blacks before they even finish their wave.
Okay. Because I was thinking about the cards with all the colors on it.
Now, when we get to the color card side of things, what you want to do is you want to look at the Vectorscope. Okay, and the Vectorscope, it is kind of a weird tool. Like, that's not the most intuitive tool I've ever seen. I would like to see, someone like Martin Sinclair or someone who understands these tools to make it an easier version of it, because it is a little it's not intuitive, but maybe it is. But you know what? There's a lot to be said for tools that have been used the same for 50 years, 100 years.
True.
So for those who do know how to use them, they're like, I've been using that for...
probably a lot of people in our chat.
I was trained on that. I'm glad that it looks the way it was the one that I learned in grade school or whatever, or at least production school. But so on the Vectorscope side of things, there's these little squares in vMix, and in other places they might be more like little points. And in the center is all of your color, and you actually want your red color to reach out to the pure red. And so it looks kind of like a circle with almost like an octopus, where each of the colors stretches out, and you want them to reach out into, in fact, I'm going to do this right now for our live viewers. And I'm going to explain what I'm doing for the podcast listeners.
What are you doing?
So there's something called a color bar. Okay? Oh. And a color bars they're just all the colors of the rainbow.
Dies?
Kind of when your cable dies, when things happen, you get this thing called color bars. Okay? Now, color bars...
This reminds me of watching Malcolm in the Middle, and all of a sudden...
If color bars are just all the colors of the rainbow and black and white and gray and everything. So what you can do, and I'm going to have to add a desktop capture to show this.
We interrupt this program for the following message.
Hopefully this will work. It might get a little insane. But if we open this up full screen.
Yep, it's
not that.
Officially gotten insane.
Wait. It's coming. Hold on, guys. This should work.
We're taking you for a ride.
All right, now, in the color correction tool itself, you have all of these colors, and we were talking about a Waveform Monitor. Let's look at that real quick.
There you go.
Whoa,
okay, remember that the audio listeners are not going to be able to see any of this.
You're right. So I'm going to try to explain this. But the Vectorscope,
there it is.
See how basically with this Vectorscope, they're like these points of colors, and if you use an image of color bars, they will all go exactly to the right place, because it's just an image of the exact perfectness. And as we stretch it around, see how it changes?
Oh, as you manipulate tools within vMix, you see that the color bars change.
So basically it should be I just wanted to show what a perfect color bar would look like on a waveform monitor. I think that helps a little bit. So, and that's the way that Martin Sinclair, the CEO of vMix, explained it to me. So, that is a good place to start.
Does vMix use the cards? Chad is asking.
The color correction cards?
Like, do they have some sort of color correction card tool? A virtual one? I think that's what he's asking.
So what vMix would recommend, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but generally what they do is they would say, take a color card. That's your tool to zoom into or put up to the camera, right? And use that as, all right, this should be, like there's something for the podcast listeners, so I'm not sure if we explained this. There's something called a color correction tool. It's a color correction card. And this card has all the colors of the rainbow, essentially, and then like gray scales, like white, 20% white, 40% gray, 60% gray, 80% gray, black. And so when you look at this card through a camera, you should know what these colors actually are, and that's what you kind of correct to. So it's just a tool for, basically saying, this is my standard, this is what we're going to correct to. And then that's like your starting point. And so by looking at that card and then looking at a Vectorscope, you could say, well, my yellow is not stretching all the way out to where yellow should be. And I know that this card is yellow and it's blue and it's red. Because sometimes, like, for example, if you're trying to color match a room that there's no blue in.
So you're comparing the card to whatever the program is that you're using on your computer.
Like you're taking...
See that it's on point with where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. It's really about the camera's image. So, like, the camera's pointed at this card. Is the camera reproducing the colors correctly? Mm-hmm. Or do I need to change the hue a little bit, the gamma, the exposure? And that's why the grayscale's there, because, the colors might be right, but your white balance is off.
So people might use the card and a waveform monitor
at the same
together.
Time. Yes.
I see.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, so the first thing is getting your exposure right, and then leaving off a hair so things are just a little bit gray. And we found that just using a little bit of black stretch can really help, because the camera's giving you all that data, and then you just stretch that black up a little bit until you get really crisp blacks.
If anybody in our audience is a color corrector or colorist, if you want to make us a video to show like what you do, go ahead and send us a video.
There's a lot of great conversation happening on our live chat, because we are live streaming this, that you can go back and look at. Some really smart stuff.
Yeah, and the cards are expensive, Chad's saying. So you can buy a card on on Amazon that is like $20.
Why can't I just print out that onto a piece of paper?
Because it's not like true color.
It's not like real deal.
Yeah, I mean, if you print it out onto like a regular 8.5 by 11 printer, you're going to get like a pretty crappy image. Yeah. Now, if you had really good paper, it might help, but that paper is going to be expensive, and you might as well buy the one that they have. Now, color checkers. It's
called Dunder Mifflin.
Yeah, called Dunder Mifflin.
Had to do it.
But there's these really expensive color checker cards that are like $100, but they're not even printed on paper. It's something else. And it's really, really
it's like
nice.
Different. Yeah.
And then on the back side is like a washed gray, and that's used for auto white balancing. And that's something we haven't mentioned yet, but once you have your exposure correct, you go on to white balancing. And a lot of people like to just do a auto white balance. So you zoom the camera into a gray or white card, and you click auto white balance, and boom, the camera adjusts because it says, oh, that is what we need to be like the color white.
Yeah.
And so that's a good place to start. The other thing we didn't talk about on the podcast, but we looked at this in our show, is that a big way of improving the PTZ optics cameras and your white balancing in general, no matter what camera you're using, is you can use a variable Kelvin scale. And Kelvins are the color temperature.
You had wrote a funny story in our chat about the Kelvin scale.
Really?
Or something, yeah. Like somebody, this guy was burning something and it turned blue, but it was also, because it was really hot.
Oh,
I don't know. It turned blue.
I'll have to look on the chat, on the YouTube chat.
So there's this joke / just thing in the industry that people talk about, which is called the Clash of the Kelvins. And the Clash of the Kelvins is essentially where, and this happens in churches a lot, where you have like traditional tungsten light. It's just like a really warm, like 3000.
Isn't that about a metal?
Color temperature for a second. Tungsten is a type of light.
Yeah.
It's just like an older style. I think it's like sodium.
Yeah.
It's like a chemical inside of the light that and they're really hot. They like really hot and they hot to the touch. But anyway, color temperature generally starts around 3000 Kelvin and goes all the way up to like almost 7000 Kelvin, right? Maybe even a little more. The 3000 range is like really warm. So it's like a warm Kelvin. Like if you look at the back of an LED light like we have here, you can change the color temperature from like warm to like even like a bluish like daylight color. And so in churches, a lot of times they have daylight coming in on Sunday morning through the windows, but they also have this like warm Kelvin light that's like in the 30,000 layers. And then you have a clash of the Kelvins. So it's really difficult to set the camera up and try to white balance to something that if the window's shining on it from the left, then it is a beautiful white light. And then if the tungsten warm lights are shining on it from the right, and this happens all the time, like different color lights are going from left to right. So that's why you'll see today in like the really high end larger churches like Flatirons Church in Colorado, Lafayette, Colorado, or the trying to think of some of the big churches in the United States, but they pretty much block out all the daylight, which is kind of funny.
Yeah,
they really do. It's like block the daylight to all the vampires in here. Just kidding, but
it's for a better show they give, or not show, but a better
get rid of the daylight. It's It's uncontrollable. Plus, I think I think that they might enjoy just going like completely dark for a moment and then.
They like that the blue lights. They shoot the blue lights.
So much blue lights. It's crazy, but generally they'll keep even if it's different colored lights, they'll try to keep the temperature of the light. That's the kind of cool thing about like painting with light, is that you could have a blue and a red and a green, but the same temperature coming out. So you could have all the lights have the same like color temperature, but like different films on top. And then you can really have some awesome colors. Johnny's saying 2000 is really warm and yellowy. 7000 is really bright and blue.
Yes.
So like 6000-ish is like a nice crisp daylight. And that's what most people like to use.
When we just did the church setup the other like last week.
Remember I warned you.
We were talking about how like the lighting in there was like crazy. And I was filming and it was difficult to get good footage.
Well, it was funny. I told Mike, I was like, I don't know why, but I've been thinking more and more about lighting, at least recently. And I asked Sean O'Connor that we were going over there with, I was like, hey, what's the lighting like in there?
Yellow.
And he was like, very yellowy, very yellowy. And I was like, oh, thank God I asked. So we brought a little portable light.
Yes.
Just a little like portable light we set to like a daylight, cool color.
Cool color.
And so it really worked out well because we were lighting our subjects with like a cool color, and then the background was really yellowy.
Yeah.
So we popped off of the background really well. So 5 to 6K is the best, as Scott Pienta is saying.
I would,
and
5 to 6K, yeah.
Just so many churches have the Clash of the Kelvins going on. It's expensive to do lighting projects. So it's nice that the cameras can be set to whatever you think is going to be best. Other interesting thing from color matching at that church we found is that we haven't mentioned this yet on the podcast, but you have to have really good monitors to even reproduce the colors properly.
Absolutely.
And they had the cheapest monitors, unfortunately, I've ever seen.
Same brand we just had, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like
it was bad.
You've never even heard of
we just got rid of.
We could talk about the monitor issue that we had for the podcast.
Yeah, we had the same issue here.
And
I would say
difference is insane.
Like Samsung is like probably the minimum you want to get.
Yeah.
Like Sony would be ideal.
I like Samsung.
Samsung's pretty darn good. And you can tell, like go to Best Buy and look at all the monitors and then just go, oh wow. Like why are all of these playing the same video and they all look different?
Yes, exactly.
you know, and just choose the one that's the best, because this is for video production. This is not for saving $20 or $100 right now. This is for reproducing the colors properly. What we found, this is an interesting workaround that who knows if this would ever be helpful to someone, but the monitors were so poor, but they had 2 projectors that were like $6,000 each. That's where like the money being spent is so like odd. It's like, let's buy the most expensive laser projectors ever, and then let's get the cheapest displays for our computer ever.
I think that type of the workflow, the coloring workflow, like on their end, you just don't ever, you don't think about it.
Yeah, they're not, you know, producers.
Yeah.
No, and honestly, most churches that are live streaming are just happy to get the video out. And now I will say though, they did mention, they were like, that color looks, you know,
something's
a little
up with
yellowy.
that.
This one looks white. What can we do? And we went through everything we just talked about. We set the cameras to manual. We
the crazy thing was that when we color corrected that, we were looking at the giant screens, and not the monitor that they had.
I know.
They were like, that was like the difference. It was so crazy.
Oh, it's so funny. So it's an important issue. You know, on the PTZ Optics side, we are going to be looking at making the app was really made to color match, but it's still not done yet because the app's not saving all the settings on the camera the way it should. So that's something we're going to be bringing in. And
this app is going to be so beastie by 2019. It's going to be insane.
No, the app. I don't think I'll get in trouble for saying that the app's probably going to have an Xbox controller.
Yeah, there'll be some cool
options. We're working on a lot of cool stuff to add to that app.
Yeah.
And then finally, once it's like rock solid, we'll take it out of beta. But it's all about helping people color match and managing multiple cameras together to get the best production. So we'll hang out with you guys if you have any more questions, but that's it for the podcast. I hope that was helpful for anyone out there who's just thinking about improving their video production quality.
Have a good one, guys.
Yes, Johnny D, we do need beta testers. And if you have the app, you are a beta tester. Like literally, if you have it, you're beta testing right now.
I think you go to ptzoptics.com/apps. Is that where it is?
Yes.
You know what I want to see on the app? I want to see button outlines. I noticed like when you go look on like example. Do you have it here? Can you pull it up?
Yeah, I've got it.
Oh, there it is. And expand it, please.
Enhance.
Send it.
What do you want? Like a little outline around each?
Go to window. Go to window. Advanced preview mode.
That's this.
No, go to advanced. Yeah. All right. So under low light, sports, day, and
you want
I want a little outline
around this. Okay.
And when you click on it, you see like it like dip in like just slightly, just a little.
Okay.
You know. What else? When we expanded it and made it bigger,
the buttons could have got bigger.
Some of the buttons should have.
App development is so complex. It's like
mobile. It's not mobile responsive, but yeah, there's more responsiveness to.
There's some
buttons.
responsiveness in here. I remember, man, when we were getting all the requests from the user group. Thank you if you helped me with that. Oh my gosh,
what?
My brain was just killing me. It was just like
it's tough.
Do this, do that, do this, do that. Add this, add this. And I'm working with the developer. I'm not the developer myself, so I'm like, can you do this? Can you do that? He said, you said not to do that. Well, now I need you to do that. Why are you changing your mind?
People what they want.
Oh, so where did we get our podcast table? Says Scott. This is literally just a IKEA table. This is like, there's nothing special about this at all, except that there's podcasting equipment attached to it.
Yeah, that's about it.
It literally came with our office.
It was free. It was free office.
We moved it from over there into here. And
that's the best kind of podcasting table.
It was a conference table. Honestly, this type of conference table, if you just cut off the back and just push it up into the wall.
That would be perfect. That's essentially what our demonstration table in the main studio is.
It is.
That was custom, though.
Yeah.
Scott Pienta said he bought for the college's big rooms, projectors that start at $19,000.
Whoa. Oh, yeah, that's brutal.
Our podcast has been like a fight to keep going. We are getting an intern who's going to be EQing everything. Oh my goodness. But yeah. I've never been trained as a audio engineer. So.
No, not at all. It's so crazy, like the amount of extra skill sets that you have to like pick up around here.
Yeah. You color match everything
we
for
wear,
me?
Yeah, we wear.
Now I need you to EQ everything for me.
Yeah, like what?
I never Panasonic's app, but Rokosoft, yes. We love Rokosoft. Would be great to have the ability to set presets based on a set image.
That is built into the latest app, by the way, Johnny.
Nice.
So you can go to a camera. Let's see if I can pull one up. And you can save an image, save a preset, and it will take a picture of it. So that was something we really wanted. So we got that in there. I mean, it's going to keep getting better and better, obviously. The Xbox controller is going to be nice.
They can't see that, though, Paul.
No.
What you're doing.
No, they can't. I could show it. Do you want me to show it?
I don't know. We were just demonstrating it.
Boop, boop, beep, pop, pop, beat up. All right, so.
Thank you, Albinus.
You can kind of.
Not that one.
Oh, you know what? This is a Z cam.
Yeah, it's a Z cam. There you go.
That is preset too. Oop. I don't think the 20x Z cam works with that. Let's try this one.
It's kind of hard to have all the lights off.
Did you turn all the lights off?
Yeah, I turned all the lights off.
Oh, there we go. All right, so let's set one called 2 over here. So it does take a little picture there. Generally, it looks like this kind of little pictures.
That's cool.
I guess this is officially a video podcast. Yes.
Well, we've ended the podcast.
Yeah.
So what we're demonstrating right now isn't going to be in the podcast.
What I will say is that we stopped uploading our video podcast to Podbean because we couldn't get Spotify.
It's so cool being on Spotify.
Olivia's is saying the colors are looking better. Neutrals and skin tones looking natural, not overexposed. Thank you. Yeah, we had some serious issues with that. Like,
I'm too dark.
that looks too dark. What happened?
So then go back to
I don't know, because that's
What
so weird,
just
because this
happened?
light is like blazing me.
the light. We're getting like a lot of crazy
Like,
different light.
I'm looking.
That looks good. This camera must be set to some type of automatic setting because it shouldn't do that when Tess gets her close up.
And then do the far away shot.
There is no wide shot on this.
There's no wide shot.
Or at least not. So what is going on?
Oh, the Z cam. Okay, I understand.
It's on auto.
It's on
You're
auto.
not supposed to do that.
Why'd you turn on auto, Paul?
Oh, look, there's a halo effect happening.
I know.
To me. I could get used to that.
An Earth Angel.
Just walk around with that halo.
There we go. I'm not supposed to do that. That's better. Because it was basically when it was going to test, it was in auto mode, and it was like, oh, that background has light on it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's coming from the window.
Look at that right behind you, that giant thing. That's exactly why we suggest to go with manual, because...
Well, should we shut the blind? Because that's coming from the window.
I know it is. I like it, but...
I like it too.
I like how you can see the cars driving by in the reflection.
Yeah, I like it. The other thing I'd love if someone has a moment to help us is our audio. How far behind is our audio if we wanted to fix it? So I don't know if anyone has a chance to help us with this, but ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. It's just it's really hard to do.
Close up.
Yeah, good point. I'll do a close up. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. It looks 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It looks a little delayed on our screen. Toast BH is saying it's close. So if that's true,
yeah, I feel like we're really close.
Then I had it because I had it on a 500 millisecond delay.
Echo.
We have an echo. How could we have gotten this far through the show?
Echo.
And then finally realize
video is behind, Larry says.
Okay. So then I should be able to change the delay to 100 milliseconds then. I think we
Remember
might be
the time we were
close.
like 20,000 milliseconds or something like that?
Yeah, it was a lot. And you were like,
It's weird.
So negative. I don't understand this stuff because sometimes it's like, well, what is...
Screen grab from YouTube and take it into VLC.
Yes,
Easy way to see.
I agree. That's the way we have to do it.
that's the way we have to do it.
That's what we're going to do.